Admiral Min Ji-hae walked through the crystal corridors of the Galactic Council station. The walls sparkled with light from dozens of different stars. She had been Earth's representative for 3 years now. Every day she worked to make humanity's voice heard among the ancient races of the galaxy. Today felt different. The council chamber buzzed with more activity than usual. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered in their assigned sections. The Vorthak sat in their crystal chairs, their bodies glowing with soft blue light. The Zephyrians floated above their platforms, their thoughts touching the minds of nearby allies. The massive Gorvani shifted their rocky forms as they settled into position. Min Ji-hae took her seat in the human section. It was small compared to the areas given to older races. Earth had only joined the council 15 years ago. The other species treated humans politely, but always as the newcomers who still had much to learn. "The session will now begin," announced Chairman Vex Tar. His crystalline voice echoed through the chamber. He had led the council for over 400 years. To him, humanity was just another young race that would eventually find its place in the galactic order. Min Ji-hae stood when her turn came. "The United Earth Government presents our latest gift to the council," she said. Her voice carried clearly through the translation systems. "Our medical researchers have developed a treatment that can heal cellular damage in any carbon-based life form. We offer this freely to all member worlds." The chamber remained quiet for a moment. Then polite applause filled the air. Several representatives nodded with what seemed like approval. Chairman Vextar's crystal form pulsed once. "We thank Earth for this contribution. The Council accepts your gift." But Min Ji-hae noticed something. The Vorthak representatives exchanged rapid flashes of light between themselves. She could not understand their light language, but their body language seemed tense. The Zephyrian delegates had gone completely silent, cutting off their mental communications. Even the usually chatty Rillan were keeping their voices low. After the session ended, Min Ji-hae walked back to Earth's embassy section. She passed through the trade quarters, where beings from across the galaxy bought and sold goods. Human products were popular here. Earth's entertainment, food, and simple tools found eager buyers. But she also noticed something troubling. At a Vorthak stall, she saw devices that looked very similar to human communication equipment. The crystal beings were selling modified versions of technology that Earth had shared with the Council just 6 months ago. When she asked about it, the Vorthak merchant quickly covered the devices and claimed they were ancient designs. Dr. Sarah Kim was waiting in the embassy when Min Ji-hae returned. Sarah worked as Earth's science liaison with the Council research programs. She looked worried. "Admiral, we need to talk privately," Sarah said. She led Min Ji-hae to a shielded room where they could speak without being overheard. "I've been tracking the technology exchanges," Sarah explained. "Every time we share something with the Council, I monitor how it gets distributed. The pattern is very strange." She activated a holographic display. It showed the flow of technology between Council member worlds. "Look at this." When we gave them the atmospheric processors, they were copied and improved by 5 different species within weeks. But when the Gorvani shared their mining techniques, we never received the data. Same with Zephyrian mental shielding and Vorthak crystal engineering. Min Ji-hae studied the display. The pattern was clear once Sarah pointed it out. Information flowed freely away from Earth, but very little came back. "They're taking our technology, but not sharing theirs with us." "It gets worse," Sarah continued. "I've been analyzing the Council's research requests. They keep asking us to work on projects that seem designed to test our limits. How fast can humans adapt to new environments? What are our psychological breaking points? How do our military systems integrate with civilian infrastructure? 11. Die. 1. Die. 1. A cold feeling grew in Min Ji-hae's stomach. These were not the questions of allies trying to understand their partners. These were the questions someone might ask if they wanted to find weaknesses. Her personal communicator buzzed. A message had arrived from Earth Defense Command. She opened it and read the contents twice to make sure she understood correctly. "What is it?" Sarah asked. "Earth Fleet has received a mission request from the Council Military Committee. They want us to send our ships to the Kepler Void. Something about pirates threatening trade routes." Sarah frowned. "That's odd. The Kepler Void is almost empty space. There are no regular trade routes through that sector. Why would pirates operate there?" Minji-hye was already reaching for her emergency communicator. She needed to contact Captain Park Sung-ho, commander of Earth's main fleet. Something about this mission felt wrong, but when she tried to establish a connection to Earth, she found the communication channels unusually slow. Technical difficulties. The Council Station's operators told her. These things happened sometimes with equipment from different worlds. Back on Earth, Captain Park Sung-ho received the mission briefing aboard his flagship, the Harmony's Edge. The ship was one of 30 vessels that made up Earth's contribution to galactic peacekeeping. They were exploration ships, really, designed for long-range missions and equipped with defensive weapons. Park studied the mission parameters with his senior officers. Lieutenant Commander Lee Soo-jin, his tactical officer, pointed out several inconsistencies in the briefing. "Sir, the target area is huge," she said. "If there really are pirates operating in the Kepler Void, we would need much better intelligence about their positions. This briefing just tells us to patrol a region that would take months to search properly. And the communication protocols are unusual," added Chief Engineer Yang Min-sok. "They want us to maintain radio silence until we reach the target area. That's not standard procedure for anti-piracy operations." Park nodded. He had the same concerns. But orders from the Council were clear. Earth was still proving itself as a member of the galactic community. Refusing a peacekeeping mission would damage humanity's reputation. "We follow our orders," he decided. "But stay alert. Something about this feels off." As Earth's fleet prepared to depart, none of them knew that similar conversations were happening on ships across the galaxy. Vorthak battlecruisers received orders to proceed to the same region. Zephyrian mine ships got similar instructions. Even the peaceful Rillan were told to send their defensive vessels to the Kepler Void. The difference was that only the human crews were told they would be fighting pirates. Chairman Vex Tar watched the departure schedules from his private chamber in the Council Station. Each species was moving according to the plan. Soon, the human problem would be solved permanently. The galaxy would return to the stable order it had known for centuries. He did not notice the small recording device that Dr. Sarah Kim had hidden in the chamber's crystal matrix. Nor did he suspect that Admiral Minji-hye had already begun sending coded messages to Earth through channels that bypassed the Council's monitoring systems. The trap was set. But humanity had learned to be careful during their 15 years among the stars. They had learned that even allies could become enemies. Earth's fleet jumped to hyperspace, heading toward what they believed was a peacekeeping mission. But in the depths of their cargo holds, hidden weapons systems waited for activation. And in the command centers of Earth's colonies, emergency protocols stood ready to trigger. The Council thought they knew humanity well enough to predict their responses. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. Captain Park Sung-ho stood on the bridge of the Harmony's Edge as his fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The Kepler Void stretched before them, a region of space scattered with dead stars and floating debris. It was not the kind of place where pirates usually operated. There were no trade routes here, no valuable resources to steal. "Sensors are picking up multiple contacts," reported Lieutenant Commander Lee Soo-jin. "At least 50 vessels spread throughout the area. They're running silent, but our passive scans are detecting them." Park frowned. 50 ships was far too many for a typical pirate group. Pirates worked in small, fast units that could strike quickly and escape before military forces arrived. This looked more like a battle fleet. "Can you identify the ship types?" he asked. Lee worked at her console for several minutes. Her expression grew more confused as she studied the readings. "Sir, These are not pirate vessels. I'm seeing Vorthak crystal ships, Zephyrian mined cruisers, and Gorvani dreadnoughts. These are Council military vessels. A chill ran down Park's spine. Are you certain? Positive, sir. But they're all running false identification signals. According to their transponders, they're merchant vessels or salvage ships. However, our deep scans show military-grade weapons and shielding. Park immediately tried to contact Admiral Min Ji-hye, back at the Council station. The communication system activated, but no signal went through. He tried different frequencies and backup channels. Nothing worked. Engineering. Report on our communications array, he ordered. Chief Engineer Yang Min-sok's voice came over the intercom. Sir, our systems are being jammed. The interference is coming from multiple sources around us. It's using our own encryption codes. Park's blood turned cold. The jamming technology was based on communication improvements that Earth had shared with the Council 6 months ago. Their own gift was being used against them. All ships, this is the Harmony's Edge, Park broadcast to his fleet. Even as he gave the order, the enemy ships dropped their false transponder signals. 50 Council warships revealed themselves in a perfect surrounding formation. The human fleet of 30 ships was completely encircled. Then Chairman Vextar's voice cut through the jamming. It was being broadcast across the entire galaxy. Citizens of the Council, the Vorthak leader announced. Today, we face a crisis that threatens galactic peace. The human fleet has launched an unprovoked attack on Council peacekeeping forces in the Kepler Void. This act of aggression cannot be tolerated. Park stared at the communication display in shock. The transmission was being sent to every world in the galaxy. It showed edited footage that made it look like Earth ships had fired first. The images were false, but they looked completely real. In response to this attack, Vextar continued, the Council has no choice but to defend itself. The human threat must be eliminated permanently. Earth's membership in the Council is hereby revoked. Any human vessels that do not surrender immediately will be destroyed. The communication ended. Around them, Council ships powered up their weapons. Energy readings spiked on every sensor display. Sir, Lee reported quietly. We're picking up additional fleets moving toward Earth. Long-range sensors show at least 200 Council ships heading for human space. Park understood now. This was not about pirates or peacekeeping. The Council had decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist. They had lured Earth's fleet away from home, planning to destroy it and then attack Earth while it was defenseless. All ships, prepare for combat, Park ordered. We're going to break through their lines and get word back to Earth. The first Council salvo lit up space with energy beams and plasma missiles. The human ships scattered, using their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid the worst of the attack. But they were still outnumbered almost 2-1. The Harmony's Edge took a direct hit from a Vorthak crystal cannon. The ship shook violently, and sparks flew from several control panels. But the human vessel kept fighting. Return fire on that crystal ship, Park ordered. All weapons. Human plasma cannons and missile tubes opened up. The Vorthak ship's crystalline hull cracked under the assault. It was not used to fighting opponents who could adapt so quickly to their tactics. Around them, the battle raged. Earth ships used unconventional formations that confused the Council forces. They split into small groups, attacked from unexpected angles, and regrouped before the enemy could respond effectively. But the numbers were too great. One by one, human ships began to fall. The exploration vessel New Seoul took critical damage and had to be abandoned. The research ship Busan exploded when its reactor was hit. Sir, Yang reported from engineering, we can't keep this up much longer. Our shields are down to 30%. Park made a decision that would save humanity. All remaining ships, this is Park Sung-ho. I'm ordering a fighting retreat. Half of you will jump to hyperspace immediately and warn Earth. The other half will stay with me to cover your escape." "Captain, I volunteer to stay," came the voice of Commander Kim Tae-young from the destroyer Incheon. "As do I," added Captain Yoon Hae-jin from the cruiser Daegu. Park felt pride swell in his chest even as his heart broke. These officers knew they were volunteering to die. But they also knew that Earth had to be warned. "Understood. Designated ships, begin your jump calculations now. We'll give you as much time as we can." Rule. The human fleet split in two. 15 ships, led by the damaged Harmony's Edge, positioned themselves between the Council forces and their escaping comrades. They poured everything they had into one desperate assault. The Council commanders were shocked by the ferocity of the human attack. These were supposed to be exploration ships with light weapons. Instead, they fought with the desperation of cornered tigers. The Harmony's Edge rammed a Zephyrian mine ship, sacrificing itself to destroy the enemy vessel. Park's last transmission was heard across the human fleet. "Tell Earth we did not go quietly. Tell them. The Council showed their true face today. 15 human ships escaped the trap. They carried with them proof of the Council's betrayal and warning of the massive fleet heading toward Earth." Back on the Council station, Admiral Min Ji-hae watched the edited footage of the battle with horror and rage. The Council's propaganda made it look like Earth had started the fight. They showed human ships attacking first, edited out the jamming and the trap, and presented the destruction of Park's fleet as necessary self-defense. But Dr. Sarah Kim had been busy during the communications blackout. She had accessed the Council's own sensor records and found the real footage. She had also discovered something else: detailed invasion plans for Earth and its colonies. "Admiral," Sarah said urgently, "we need to get off this station immediately. I've found evidence that they plan to arrest all human personnel as soon as the attack on Earth begins." Min Ji-hae nodded grimly. She had already activated the emergency protocols that would evacuate all Earth citizens from Council space. But first, she had one more duty to perform. She accessed the Galactic Communication Network and began broadcasting the real footage of the battle. Her transmission cut through the Council's propaganda, showing the truth of what had happened in the Kepler void. "This is Admiral Min Ji-hae of Earth," her voice rang out across the galaxy. "What you have just seen is proof of the Council's betrayal. They lured our fleet into a trap and then claimed we attacked first. Earth trusted the Council for 15 years. We shared our technology, our culture, and our friendship. This is how that trust was repaid. Security forces stormed the Earth embassy. But they were too late. Min Ji-hae and her staff had already escaped using routes that Sarah had discovered in her research. They reached their hidden transport ship just as Council vessels began searching the station. As they fled toward Earth, Min Ji-hae received a message from the surviving ships of Park's fleet. Captain Lee Min-jun, of the cruiser Gangnam, was now in command of the survivors. "Admiral," Lee reported, "we've confirmed massive Council fleets moving toward Earth space. At least 300 ships from a dozen different species. They plan to attack our colonies first, then Earth itself." Min Ji-hae felt her resolve harden like steel. The Council thought they had eliminated Earth's military capability. They thought humanity would surrender when faced with overwhelming odds. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Admiral Min Ji-hae's ship reached Earth just hours ahead of the Council invasion fleets. She transmitted her emergency codes as soon as they entered the solar system. Within minutes, every human settlement from Mars to the outer colonies received the same message. Earth was under attack, and the Council could no longer be trusted. The response was immediate and shocking. Hidden defense platforms powered up throughout the solar system. Asteroid mining stations revealed themselves as heavily armed fortresses. What had appeared to be scientific research vessels suddenly bristled with weapons that no Council species had ever seen before. Min Ji-hae stared at the tactical display in amazement. "How long has all this been hidden?" she asked the Earth Defense Command officer who met her ship. "Since we joined the Council 15 years ago," replied General Han Woo-suk. "President Chen decided that humanity would present a peaceful face to the galaxy. But we would never again be helpless if that peace was betrayed." They traveled quickly to the hidden command center beneath the Swiss mountains. Min Ji-hye had known about Earth's basic defenses, but what she saw now took her breath away. The command center buzzed with activity. Hundreds of officers coordinated defensive preparations across human space. But these were not the desperate preparations of a cornered species. This looked like a military organization that had been planning for this day for years. "Admiral Min Ji-hye," called a familiar voice. She turned to see Captain Park Sung-ho approaching. Her heart leaped with relief. "Sung-ho, we thought you died in the Kepler void." Park smiled grimly. "I did die, in a sense. Captain Park Sung-ho of the Exploration Fleet is gone. Admiral Park Sung-ho of the Aegis Fleet is what remains." He led her to a massive holographic display that showed the entire solar system. What she saw made her gasp. Hidden throughout the outer system were enormous shipyards. Hundreds of vessels waited there, nothing like the exploration ships that had been destroyed in the trap. "Meet the real Earth fleet," Park said. "While our exploration vessels played the role of peaceful Earth representatives, we've been building these. Every human colony contributed resources. Every secret research station worked on new technologies. The Council knows nothing about any of this." Dr. Sarah Kim appeared at Min Ji-hye's side. She looked different now, more focused and determined. "I wasn't just studying Council technology to help Earth integrate," she explained. "I was learning their weaknesses. Every species we met, every technology they shared, every cultural exchange, gave us more information about how to fight them if we ever had to. The medical scanners I developed don't just heal," Sarah continued. "They can identify the specific biological vulnerabilities of every Council species. The atmospheric processors can be reversed to create toxic environments. Even our entertainment broadcasts contained hidden psychological studies of alien minds." Min Ji-hye began to understand. "We were never as innocent as we seemed." "Innocent, yes," General Han corrected, "but not naive. President Chen's first order when we joined the Council was clear. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Every gift we gave them was real. Every friendship was genuine. But we always knew this day might come." The tactical display updated to show the approaching Council fleets. 300 ships were moving toward Earth in 3 separate groups. The first would reach the outer colonies in 18 hours. "What are our chances?" Min Ji-hye asked. Park's smile became sharp. "Admiral, the Council thinks they're about to attack a helpless planet with 30 destroyed exploration ships. Instead, they're about to face the most advanced military force humanity has ever built. Our ships are faster, more heavily armed, and more advanced than anything in their fleets. But there are only 150 ships in the Aegis fleet," Min Ji-hye observed. "There are 150 warships," Park corrected. "But there are also 300 converted civilian vessels with military capabilities, 500 defensive platforms throughout human space, and weapons that no Council species has ever imagined." Sarah activated another display. "Every human colony has been preparing for this day. The mining stations can launch asteroids accelerated to near light speed. The agricultural worlds have orbital mirrors that can focus starlight into devastating beams. Even our entertainment stations broadcast jamming signals that can disrupt Council communication networks. And there's something else," General Han added. "The Council made one critical mistake when they revealed their true intentions. Every transmission they sent across the galaxy was intercepted by human intelligence networks. We now have complete tactical information about their fleet compositions, command structures, and battle plans. Min Ji-hye felt a cold satisfaction growing in her chest. The Council had betrayed 15 years of trust and friendship. They had tried to commit genocide against her species. But in their arrogance, they had given humanity everything needed to destroy them completely. "What are our orders?" she asked. Park gestured to the tactical display. "The Council fleets expect to attack our colonies first, then converge on Earth for a final assault. Instead, we're going to meet them in deep space and destroy them one group at a time. They wanted to eliminate the human threat. They're about to learn what that threat really looks like." The first Aegis fleet vessels were already moving. The flagship was not the rebuilt Harmony's Edge, but a massive new vessel called the Indomitable Spirit. It was twice the size of any ship in the Council fleets and carried weapons that incorporated everything humans had learned about galactic warfare. "The Council thinks they understand human psychology," Sarah explained as they boarded the flagship. "They believe we'll panic when faced with overwhelming odds. They expect us to negotiate or surrender to save civilian lives." "They're wrong," Park stated simply. "Humans don't surrender when fighting for survival. We fight harder." As the Aegis fleet moved toward its first intercept point, Min Ji-hye reviewed the intelligence reports that Sarah had compiled. Every Council species had specific weaknesses that could be exploited. The Vorthak relied on crystalline technology that could be shattered by harmonic resonance weapons. The Zephyrians used telepathic coordination that electromagnetic interference could disrupt. The Gorvani had thick armor but moved slowly and predictably. "The key is not to fight them on their terms," Park explained as they approached the first Council group. "They expect a traditional space battle, with energy weapons and defensive formations. Instead, we're going to use tactics they've never seen before." The first Council fleet consisted of 100 ships from 5 different species. They were approaching the outer human colonies in a standard invasion formation, expecting to meet minimal resistance from terrified civilians. Instead, they met the Indomitable Spirit and 49 other Aegis vessels rising out of the deep space shadows. "This is Admiral Park Sung-ho of the Terran Defense Force." Park broadcast on all frequencies. "You came here to commit genocide against humanity. You destroyed our trust and murdered our people. There will be no negotiations. There will be no mercy." The Council fleet commander, a Vorthak named Veltar, responded with confusion in his crystalline voice. "How are there human military vessels here? Our intelligence indicated that Earth's fleet was destroyed." "Your intelligence was incomplete," Park replied. "Prepare to face the consequences of your betrayal." The battle began with humanity's first demonstration of their true military capabilities. The Aegis ships moved with impossible speed and coordination, striking from multiple directions simultaneously. Their weapons cut through Council defenses like they were made of paper. Within 30 minutes, the first Council fleet had been completely destroyed. Not a single ship escaped to carry word of what they had encountered. Min Ji-hye watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The Council had started this war with treachery and lies, but humanity would finish it with overwhelming force. "How many more fleets are approaching?" she asked. 2 more groups," Park answered. 200 ships total. After we destroy them, we'll have a choice to make." "What choice?" Park's expression hardened. "Whether to stop at defending Earth, or to make sure the Council never threatens anyone again." Sarah checked her biological warfare displays. "The weapons are ready, Admiral. We can target every Council homeworld simultaneously." Min Ji-hye looked at the faces around her. These were people who had spent 15 years working for peace, but peace had been betrayed. Now, they would ensure that betrayal never happened again. "Contact all human colonies," she ordered. "Begin full military production. If the Council wants a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget." The second Council fleet died even faster than the first. Admiral Park Sung-ho watched from the bridge of the Indomitable Spirit as the last enemy vessel exploded in a ball of plasma fire. 70 council ships had approached the human colony of New Kyoto, expecting to find defenseless civilians. Instead, they found the Aegis fleet, waiting in perfect ambush formation. Total enemy casualties, reported Lieutenant Commander Lee Soo-jin, who had survived the Kepler void trap and now served as Park's tactical officer. 0 survivors. 0 escape pods. Recovered. Dr. Sarah Kim looked up from her biological warfare console. Admiral, we're receiving panic broadcasts from several council worlds. Word is spreading that their fleets are being destroyed, but they don't understand how. Park nodded grimly. The council had expected this to be a quick genocide followed by the peaceful absorption of human territory. Instead, 2/3 of their invasion force had simply vanished. No survivors meant no intelligence about what had happened to them. What about the third fleet? Park asked. Still approaching Earth along the planned route, Lee answered. 130 ships, including Chairman Vex Tar's personal command vessel. They should reach our outer system in 6 hours. Admiral Min Jihei studied the tactical display. The final council force was the largest and most heavily armed. It included the ancient dreadnoughts of 3 major species and was commanded by the most experienced officers in the galaxy. They'll be expecting us now, she observed. The first 2 fleets might have been explained as accidents or unknown hazards. But when the third fleet doesn't find the debris of human colonies, they'll know something is very wrong. Park smiled coldly. Good. I want them to be afraid. Sarah activated a new display showing intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Admiral, the Council is in complete chaos. Several member species are demanding explanations about what happened to their fleets. Others are pulling their remaining ships back to defend their home systems. And some are trying to make contact with us, Min Jihei added. The Rillan have sent 3 different diplomatic messages asking for negotiations. Too late, Park stated flatly. The Council made their choice when they decided to commit genocide. Now, they face the consequences. The Aegis fleet moved toward Earth to prepare for the final battle. But as they traveled, Park revealed the true scope of humanity's preparations. Hidden production facilities throughout human space had been building ships around the clock since the Council's betrayal was revealed. The fleet that had started with 150 vessels now numbered over 400. More importantly, Earth's secret research programs had produced weapons that no Council species could imagine. Sarah demonstrated some of them as they approached the battle zone. The harmonic disruption cannons can shatter Vorthak crystal technology by targeting the resonance frequencies of their hull matrices, she explained. The electromagnetic pulse generators will shut down Zephyrian telepathic networks completely, and the gravity manipulation systems can crush Gorvani stone ships despite their armor. What about biological weapons? Min Jihei asked quietly. Sarah's expression became very serious. Ready and targeted. Every Council homeworld, every major colony, every military base. If they want to fight a war of extinction, we can deliver extinction to their entire civilization within hours. Park studied the reports in silence. The power to destroy entire species was a terrible responsibility, but the Council had forced this choice when they tried to murder every human in the galaxy. We'll give them one chance to surrender, he decided. If they refuse, we end this permanently. The third Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Chairman Vex Tar stood on the bridge of his flagship, a massive Vorthak crystal ship called the Eternal Radiance. Around him, 130 of the finest warships in the galaxy prepared for what should have been an easy victory. But instead of finding a defenseless planet, they found themselves facing a wall of human ships stretched across their path. 400 vessels waited in perfect formation, their weapons trained on the Council fleet. This is impossible, whispered Commander Zelnoth, Vex Tar's tactical officer. Our intelligence said Earth only had 30 exploration ships, and those were destroyed. Vex Tar's crystal form pulsed with confused energy. Open a communication channel. I must understand what has happened here. Park's face appeared on the main display of every council ship. His expression was completely without mercy. Chairman Vextar, Park said calmly, you came here to finish the genocide you started at Kepler Void. You've discovered that humanity is not as helpless as you believed. This is madness, Vextar replied, his crystalline voice cracking with stress. How could a primitive species like yours develop such a fleet? Where did these ships come from? We built them while you thought we were your peaceful allies, Park answered. Every technology you shared with us, we improved. Every weakness you showed us, we studied. Every moment you thought we trusted you completely, we were preparing for this day. Sarah's voice cut across the communication channel. Mr. Chairman, this is Dr. Sarah Kim. You remember me from the research programs where you thought you were studying human limitations. Instead, I was cataloging the biological and technological weaknesses of every council species. The data gathering is now complete. On her signal, displays throughout the council fleet lit up with detailed information about their own vulnerabilities. Ship designs, biological data, command protocols. Everything the council had thought was secret was laid out for them to see. Impossible, Zelnoth gasped. This information is classified at the highest levels. Your mistake was thinking humans were too primitive to understand advanced espionage. Min Jihei's voice joined the conversation. We've been inside your communication network since the day we joined the council. We know everything about your military capabilities, your political structures, and your deepest secrets. Vextar's crystal form flickered with desperate energy. What do you want? Terms? Territory? We can negotiate. Park's laugh was like ice breaking. You don't understand. Chairman, there will be no negotiations. You tried to commit genocide against my species. The only choice you have now is how many of your people die with you. This is your final offer, Park continued. Surrender your fleets immediately and order all council forces to stand down. In exchange, we will limit our retaliation to the destruction of your military capabilities and the dissolution of your government. And if we refuse? Vextar asked, though his voice already carried the weight of defeat. Sarah answered him. If you refuse, we will unleash biological weapons against every council world simultaneously. Your entire civilization will end today. Every species, every colony, every living being that supported your decision to betray humanity's trust. The council fleet commanders looked at their tactical displays in growing horror. The human ships were not just more numerous than expected, they were clearly more advanced than anything in the council arsenal. Energy readings showed weapon systems that produced power levels beyond anything the galaxy's oldest races had achieved. You have 60 seconds to decide, Park announced. Surrender, or face extinction. Vextar looked around his bridge at officers who had served the council for centuries. The humans had turned from trusted allies into the most dangerous force the galaxy had ever seen. All council ships, he transmitted with a voice heavy with defeat, stand down weapons and prepare to surrender. The fleet surrenders to human forces. But even as the words left his communication system, several council commanders refused to accept defeat. 6 ships from different species broke formation and charged toward the human fleet, hoping to take some enemies with them in a final, desperate attack. They lasted exactly 14 seconds. The human weapons that destroyed them were so advanced that most of the council officers could not even understand how they worked. Ships simply stopped existing, torn apart by forces that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. Any other ships wish to resist? Park asked calmly. The remaining council fleet powered down their weapons and submitted to human authority. In less than an hour, the greatest military force the galaxy had ever assembled had become prisoners of the species they had tried to eliminate. Dr. Kim, Park ordered, signal all human colonies. Begin Phase 2 operations. Sarah nodded and began transmitting coded orders across human space. Hidden fleets emerged from concealment and began moving toward Council territory. The war was not over. It was time to make sure it could never happen again. Chairman Vex Tar watched in growing terror as his sensors detected human ships moving throughout the galaxy. They were not just defending Earth anymore. They were taking the offensive. "Where are they going?" he asked in a broken whisper. Park's smile held no warmth at all. "To visit every world that supported your decision to betray us." The Council wanted to see what humanity was truly capable of. You're about to find out. Accident. When you have Samagbanda. End quote. When you have Samagbanda as arm. Also, Admiral Park Sung-ho stood in the Council's former command chamber aboard Nexus Prime, the massive space station that had served as the galactic government's capital for over 1,000 years. The crystalline walls that had once sparkled with the light of unified civilizations now reflected the harsh illumination of human military control systems. Chairman Vex Tar knelt before him in traditional surrender position, his crystal form dim and cracked with stress. Around the chamber, representatives of dozens of species waited to learn their fate. The great experiment of galactic unity had ended with humanity's overwhelming victory. "The Council is dissolved," Park announced to the gathered aliens. His voice carried clearly through the translation systems that had once spread messages of peace across the galaxy. "Your governments, your military alliances, and your united command structure no longer exist." Dr. Sarah Kim stood beside him, holding a datapad that contained the biological weapons still targeted at every Council world. With a single command, she could trigger the complete extinction of multiple species. The power was terrible, and everyone in the chamber knew it. However, Park continued, humanity is not interested in ruling over other species or managing galactic affairs. We have different terms for you. R. He gestured to Admiral Min Ji-hye, who stepped forward carrying Earth's official declaration. Her voice rang with the authority of a species that had been betrayed but had chosen wisdom over revenge. "Every world and species will return to independent self-government," Min Ji-hye announced. "You will manage your own affairs, conduct your own trade, and live according to your own values. Earth will not interfere with your internal politics or cultural development." Confused murmurs rose from the alien delegates. This was not what they had expected from a conquering force. "What are the conditions?" asked Prexton, the Rillan representative who had tried desperately to negotiate peace during the final battle. Sarah answered him. "The conditions are simple and non-negotiable. First, no species will form military alliances with more than 3 other worlds. Second, no government will attempt to recreate the Council or any similar galactic authority. Third, any act of aggression against human territory or citizens will result in immediate and total retaliation." "And how will these conditions be enforced?" Vex Tar asked quietly. Park activated a holographic display showing the current positions of human forces throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of ships patrolled the major hyperspace routes. Monitor stations had appeared around every former Council world. The entire galactic civilization was under human observation. "The Terran Defense Force will maintain permanent oversight," Park explained. "We will know about every ship movement, every technological development, and every political change in your territories. Privacy is a privilege that species earn by proving they can be trusted." "This is not freedom," protested Korthok, a Gorvani general whose stone-like features twisted with anger. "This is occupation." Sarah's expression hardened. "You're right," she said bluntly. "It is occupation. You forfeited your right to true independence when you chose genocide as a solution to your fears about humanity. The galaxy will remain under human protection until we decide you can be trusted again." "How long will that take?" asked Nalara, speaking for the peaceful Zephyrian colonies that had opposed the war. Min Ji-hye considered the question carefully. "That depends entirely on your behavior. Species that demonstrate genuine commitment to peaceful development may earn reduced oversight Within a generation, others may remain under direct human monitoring indefinitely. She gestured to a new display showing economic and technological data. However, we're not here to punish you for your leader's mistakes. Trade between human and alien worlds is not only permitted, but encouraged. Our technology will be shared with species that prove trustworthy. Cultural exchanges can resume once we're confident they won't be used for espionage. Vextar's crystal form pulsed weakly. And what of those who planned the war? What of us? Park's expression showed no sympathy. The individuals directly responsible for the betrayal will face justice. You, specifically, will stand trial for attempted genocide, conspiracy to commit war crimes, and violation of galactic trust. If found guilty, you will spend the rest of your very long life in a human prison facility. But we will not execute you, Sarah added. Nor will we harm your families or destroy your worlds. Humanity believes in justice, not revenge. Over the following months, the new galactic order took shape under human oversight. The results surprised even the most optimistic human planners. Without the Council's bureaucratic restrictions, trade flourished between species. Scientific research accelerated as worlds were free to pursue their own interests, rather than centrally planned projects. Cultural development bloomed as species no longer felt pressured to conform to galactic standards. The Rillan developed new art forms that incorporated human music with their own tonal languages. The Gorvani discovered that their mining expertise was highly valued by younger species trying to develop their industrial capacity. Even the Vorthok found new purposes as their crystal technology proved essential for building the quantum communication networks that connected the galaxy's independent worlds. Dr. Sarah Kim established the Human Alien Science Foundation, which provided advanced medical and technological assistance to any species that requested it. Unlike the Council's programs, this aid came without political strings attached. The only requirement was that recipient worlds agree not to use the technology for military purposes against other species. The interesting thing, Sarah reported to Admiral Min Jihei during a quarterly review session, is that removing the Council's central authority actually made the galaxy more stable, not less? Species are cooperating because they want to, not because they're forced to. Min Jihei nodded as she reviewed the reports from across human space. Crime rates had dropped, economic prosperity was increasing, and best of all, no species had attempted to violate the terms of the peace settlement. What about resistance movements? She asked. There are a few small groups on Vorthak worlds calling for rebellion, Sarah answered, but our intelligence networks monitor them closely. Most aliens seem genuinely relieved to be free from Council control, even if it means living under human oversight. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. 1,000. Admiral Park Sung-ho had taken permanent command of the Terran Defense Force and now coordinated humanity's peacekeeping operations from a mobile command ship that traveled constantly between the major systems. His quarterly report showed the same pattern of stability and growth. The key insight, he explained during a conference with Earth's leadership, was realizing that the galaxy doesn't need a government. It needs a guardian. The Council tried to control everything, which created resentment and eventually rebellion. We just make sure nobody threatens anybody else. President Chen, now in her second term since the war ended, reviewed the long-term projections. What happens in 50 years? 100? Eventually, some species will develop technology that could challenge our oversight. Sarah had been thinking about that question for months. We'll adapt. The monitoring systems we've built are designed to detect technological development that could pose a threat. If a species develops something dangerous, we approach them about it. Most have been quite cooperative about limiting weapons research. And if they're not cooperative? Chen asked. Park answered quietly. Then, we demonstrate why cooperation is preferable to the alternative. 5 years after the Council's defeat, Chairman Vextar was brought to his trial on Earth. The proceedings were broadcast throughout the galaxy, not as entertainment, but as education. Every species could see exactly how human justice operated. The evidence was overwhelming. Vextar had planned the betrayal for months, coordinated the false intelligence that lured Earth's fleet into the trap, and personally ordered the propaganda broadcasts that justified humanity's attempted extinction. But the trial also revealed something unexpected. Under questioning, Vextar admitted that the Council's fear of humanity was not entirely unreasonable. "Your species adapts too quickly," he explained to the human judges. "In 15 years, you had gone from primitive space travel to matching our technology. Your population was growing exponentially. Your curiosity was unlimited. If we had waited another generation, you might have become too powerful to stop. So, you decided to commit genocide," Judge Kim Hana stated flatly. "We decided to preserve galactic stability," Vextar corrected. "We failed to consider that humanity might be strong enough to survive our attempt. We failed to predict that you would be wise enough to not repeat our mistakes." The trial concluded with Vextar's conviction and sentencing to life imprisonment. But his final words carried an unexpected message. "I have studied your species for 5 years while awaiting trial," he said to the packed courtroom. "You could have destroyed us all. You had the weapons, the justification, and the anger to end every alien civilization in the galaxy. Instead, you chose a more difficult path. Perhaps the Council was wrong about more than just your military capabilities." Admiral Min Ji-hae, now serving as Earth's Galactic Affairs Director, visited Vextar in his prison facility 1 year later. The former chairman spent his days in a comfortable cell, reading human philosophy and writing memoirs that had become surprisingly popular among other species. "Do you regret your decision to attack Earth?" she asked. Vextar's crystal form had regained some of its original clarity during his time in prison. "I regret that we felt it was necessary," he answered. "But I cannot regret the outcome. The galaxy is more prosperous and peaceful now than it was under Council rule. Humanity proved that strength and wisdom can coexist. Would you change anything if you could go back?" The former chairman considered for a long moment. "I would have trusted you," he said finally. "The Council's greatest failure was not recognizing that humanity's greatest strength was never your technology or your military might. It was your ability to learn from your enemy's mistakes and choose a better path." As Min Ji-hae left the prison, she reflected on the strange journey that had brought them to this point. 15 years ago, humanity had joined the galactic community, hoping for peace and friendship. They had received betrayal and attempted genocide instead. But perhaps that betrayal had been necessary. Without it, humanity might never have revealed their true capabilities. The galaxy might have continued, under the Council's flawed leadership, for centuries more. Now, under humanity's watchful protection, countless species were free to pursue their own destinies without fear of war or oppression. Trade flourished, science advanced, and cultures grew in ways the old system had never allowed. The price of that freedom had been the Council's destruction and humanity's assumption of galactic responsibility. It was a burden that Earth had never wanted, but one they would carry faithfully, because they had learned the most important lesson of all. True strength meant protecting those who could not protect themselves, even if those people had once tried to destroy you. The galaxy was safe. Humanity had made sure of that, and they would continue to make sure of it, for as long as the stars continued to shine.